BetaSeries, la radio, partenaire média du Festival de télévision de Monte-Carlo 2021.
Originals, découvrez en avant-première nos interviews sur les séries qui font l'actu.
Bienvenue sur BetaSeries, la radio, pour un épisode d'Originals, l'émission dédiée aux séries qui font l'actu. Aujourd'hui, coup de projecteur sur une des séries sélectionnées au Festival de la télévision de Monte-Carlo 2021, dont nous sommes partenaires médias, la série israélienne Line in the Sand, et le nouveau drame policier intense du réalisateur de la série Fauda, que nous adorons. Line in the Sand se déroule il y a environ 15 ans et est inspiré de faits réels. La série est centrée sur Alon, un inspecteur de police idéaliste qui abandonne une carrière de haut vol pour retourner dans sa ville natale. Il trouve une ville tyrannisée par un chef de gang qu'il va devoir affronter en abandonnant tous ses principes. Et nous avons la joie d'interviewer les créateurs de la série, son réalisateur, Rotem Shamit, et son auteur, Yuval Yefet, et ses acteurs principaux, Shani Cohen et Tsaï Halevi. Thank you very much to be with us today, Rotem and Yuval.
Thank you.
So my first question is about the creation and the original idea of this series. Is it inspired from a true story, and how did you transform it into fiction?
So yes, Line in the Sand is based on a true story that happened in Israel about 15 years ago. It happened in a small beach town in the north of Israel. Israel has what we call federal police. There's no local police in Israel. And for that reason, there was this situation that was created in this small town of a gangster that was kind of terrorizing the town. And the local police there were trying to, fight him off in regular, lawful ways without any success. And they didn't get enough backup from the federal police. And in that sense, they were left kind of alone in their fight against him, and made a decision to cross the line and become vigilantes. That story kind of like blew up in the news in Israel, and it was a very big story. We took that story as the base of the show. We took these circumstances that I just described were the base of the show, and the morality tale here was for us amazing. And we elaborated and changed things like character biographies and some of the story elements, but did keep the original circumstances of the story.
So it's still a little city on the beach, but it's not the same city in the series, or is it?
It's the same city, the city of Nahariya.
It's the same, right?
We shot their part of the show as well. And people that were looking at us from in the streets shooting, they know that story and they're like, oh, they're doing that. And even the house of the family is really at the streets where it really happens. Yeah.
So for people it must be quite hard also to have these memories coming back,
Yeah, well, unfortunately, some of it still haunts the city. It's not completely over it. Even while the show was broadcasted, there was a few events there, like criminal events. But there is now a new mayor there, and they have like this new the feeling that things are going to change.
But the police organization still has a big scar from this event. So when we broadcasted the show in Israel, a big debate started, kind of like re-emerging, the wounds from 15 years ago, and the real people came to the media and started talking about this, because I think a lot of them have yet to have their closure on the original events.
Ah, incredible. So the series, you speak about the event and the impact it has. The series is about making tough personal choices, about maybe the police system, or the state, how to help the population, but also maybe more philosophically the limits between good and bad, how to preserve the family values. So what is the most important theme beyond the story for you?
Well, I think we wanted to take a more classical approach in this show, in the sense that we wanted to make a hero that is not necessarily, what we have gotten used to in the last few years in television, that, morality of our main hero is a little dubious and fluid. For Alon, this is not the case. He's a very moral guy. What is the problem here is law enforcement and not morality. He doesn't cross the line for us from good to bad. He crosses the line from lawful to unlawful. And in that sense, his heart is in the right place, but he is fighting off a situation where he cannot really act on it lawfully. So we also, to strengthen that theme, Miki, Alon's wife, is also a prosecutor. So she is a law enforcer herself, and the family is basically, we call them the poster of law enforcement in the first couple of episodes. They are there to maintain the law. And for him to do such a very extreme thing like breaking the law like he does is just unheard of in the beginning of the series, and we very quickly wanted to transform him to a person that understands that there's no other choice. And then he brings that drama back home because his wife is a prosecutor, and it becomes very dramatic.
And she remains on the good side,
exactly,
the wife.
Yes.
Yeah, that's...
Well, she I will try not to spoil anything, but she definitely remains on the good side, but she is forced into the problems as well, and she also has to make some tough decisions that go against her beliefs.
That's interesting. So what genre describes best the series? When I hear you, it's some kind of a Western.
Yeah, definitely.
The sheriff in town.
Yeah, in straight, plainly, on the surface, it's a crime drama, but really, we were thinking about westerns. We were thinking about the film The Untouchables. Mm-hmm. We were thinking about classic stories with a very strong hero that is forced to make decisions that he would never have made unless he was in these impossible circumstances.
That's what I felt while watching the first episode, and I'm looking forward to seeing the following. What did you have in mind about the actors when you wrote the series? Did you know already you would work with them because you know them from Fauda, or did it come after? What did the story first and then
Well, for the role of Alon, we were thinking about Tzachi from really early on, because we needed someone that inherently, as a real person, is really, ideological. When you give him lines, that he will say them, with real. He's not the ego won't be there. It's not about his self-progress in the police or something. It's about the real issue, and Tzachi is really honest in that way. But the other, let's say for Miki, it was very different. We had a very different conception of the character with casting her. We were thinking more stereotypical maybe. And Shani, when she came to the audition, she taught us who the character should be. When we saw her, we understand, this is Miki. So she changed our mind about the character.
So maybe you have modelized the character once you knew her and maybe modified a little bit.
Yes, and she just getting the same lines through her changed the context of the line.
Okay. So it's not the first time you work together. I think you work on Fauda, Diamonds already.
I wrote 4 episodes on the 3rd season of Fauda. I wrote and directed seasons 2 and 3. And Diamonds is now we're going to shoot it in the summer.
Okay.
Our next project.
So it's going to be our next interview then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, do you have a specific method together? I mean, you're part of the success, both of you doing a part of it. So how do you work together?
I think we have pretty early in our relationship recognized that Yuval is a writer and I am more a director. So we meet in the showrunner aspect of things. We are there to develop the story together. We are there to kind of like do the infrastructure of the show. And then Yuval is off writing the show. He's the head writer. He has his writers, like the writer's room. So he takes care of the writing. And in parallel to that, I start to build the world of the show and the directing element of it. And that not only helps us in the way that we, divide the work between us, but also in the fact that, while I was directing Fauda 2, Yuval was writing Line in the Sand. While I was directing Fauda 3, Yuval was doing Diamond. So it helps us to kind of like progress our shows to the point that when one show is over, the next one is almost there to pick up on.
Yeah, maybe you share views, and progressively, even if it's a different series, there is some kind of a touch that you are adding, which is a result of your good combination, your good skills together.
Yes, I think that we share a lot. There's like a middle ground between us that we share our views on in taste-wise. We together we feel when something we know that's not the right thing, And we also are open to each other's ideas to kind of get someone excited on the other thing. And I think that because of this division where he's the director and I'm a writer, there's also no friction, because we don't step on each other's toes. And also on some things we have different sensibilities, and I think that the show benefits from that because we don't let each other pull it too far to a direction that may be not as good as the combination of both sensibilities.
Makes a lot of sense. The series has been broadcast on Keshet with a great audience success. International sales, I understand, are successful, and we'll see it in France on the new platform Brut X in the fall. Did you expect an international career from the very beginning, as it is quite local? In fact, did you have in mind to make a local series, the one that will travel for sure?
Since I have now been involved with 3 shows that have been traveling internationally, luckily enough, I have to say, it never ceases to amaze me how much the international audience connects to the shows that we make in Israel. I have to say that as a local filmmaker, I never have in mind the international audience when I plan the show. I was sitting yesterday in the screening and I was thinking exactly that. There are certain references there. For example, there is the character of the soldier who appears with T-shirt and an M16 on him. And I was thinking, wait, does the audience understand that this guy is a soldier? For us, it's so common. Israeli soldiers go on vacation and they walk around with a machine gun. And now these guys behind me, I'm thinking, do they understand what's going on here? So in that sense, we never try to clean the shows from the local elements of it. We actually go all the way with making it as coherent to the Israeli audience as possible. And I think in that sense, we keep ourselves honest. And honesty is the currency that eventually crosses audiences around the world. For me, as a viewer, when I watch an international show, I want it to be local. I want it to be a story of something that I don't know enough about, and I'm here to learn. So I think that's the real secret, is to keep it very truthful and honest.
You work on season 2 already. Do you write a new chapter from a white page, or did you have in mind already a 2 or 3 seasons story?
We had a multi-season story from the beginning, because the true story also has a development. So we stopped at the end of season 1 at the point where the true story still continues. So just like in the first season, we already built, we have the infrastructure of the real story that happens, and then we put another layer of things that we made up and combined the 2 things.
Wow. So to conclude, could you tell our audience why they should go and watch? I'm convinced, but for our audience, Line in the Sand, when it will be released in our country?
Well, I think it's because it's a classic story. I think it doesn't matter that the fact that it's from Israel or from any other country. I think it's something that everybody can identify with, and I think that the circumstance of this character, as much as they were fascinating for us because we didn't make them up, they're from reality, I think they're going to be fascinating for anyone.
I'm pretty sure about that. You want to add something?
I just want to say it's a tour de force. So if people enjoyed the kind of like no questions asked attitude of Fauda, we kind of continue that just in the element of the show has a lot of strong action moments and a lot of family drama combined. So it's kind of like blood, sweat, and tears in that sense, which people seem to like.
Tense Western.
It's a tense Western for sure.
Great, fantastic. Many thanks to both of you.
Thank
this
you very
was
much.
a great talk. Congrats again for this intense series, and fingers crossed for the Monte-Carlo Festival Golden Limbs Awards.
Thank you. Merci. Thank you.
Nous accueillons maintenant les 2 acteurs principaux de la série et je repasse en anglais. Tzai Halevi is playing Alan, the cop moving to the city. He was brought up, and Shani Cohen playing his wife. How did you got this role, both of you? I think you got it maybe first, and then you. But how did it happen?
You wanna start?
No, you're gonna start.
Okay.
because You got it first.
Actually, no. What's very interesting about the series, I knew Rotem Shamir from back in Fauda and Hostages, where we worked together, and I remember that I met him. I think it was a year before the casting started, and he said, "Listen, Tzachi, I'm developing this series. I'm envisioning you in the part." And I was so excited about it. I had no idea about what it is. And the minute I received the script, I was just blown away from what I read. I think I read it 2 times in a row, and it's rare because normally when you get, you read once the whole script, but I got so hooked to it. Et vous, Shani, ça s'est passé comment en fait?
You're doing the interview.
Actually, when I remember, it's interesting because when my agent called me, and she told me they want you for a role, and she told me a little bit about it. She didn't know much, but I said, "Oh, the cop's wife. No, I'm not gonna do that. The cop's wife who sits at home and she waits for her husband to come back." And then I read the script and I was so surprised because usually in series like that, the crime and the crime dramas, they focus on the action and they don't pay much attention to the family matter. It's always shallow. It's not deep enough.
Yeah.
But when I read the script, I was really happy to see that it's taken care of, and I liked it, and I like the character, and that she has a career, and she's a strong woman, and she's confident, and she is not the wife that sits at home and waits for her husband to come back. And she's active. She's very active. We can see it.
And I think, Rotem, and you all told us that you took part also to building, to developing even this character.
Yeah, because they had something else in mind, I think. They thought about something a little bit different than what I gave them. But it's hard to explain because it's the Israeli society. They wanted someone very different, blonde, from like an European family. And I told them, guys, it's very obvious in Israel. It's obvious. But it's more interesting that the wife is also...
Sephora comes from the same background.
Yeah, she comes, but she's different. And she's different from his family. She
In
tries
her
to
temper.
fit in.
Yeah.
She tries to fit in, but it can't... I mean, they are too different. It's very hard for her to connect it.
We feel that in the first episode because you make the first, dinner with the families and you do your best.
I do, yeah, exactly.
But you make an effort.
You said exactly the point. I mean, it is that's the point. And again, there are we have so many episodes to see that.
Yeah.
So, a little question for you, Tsai. Your character challenges do speak to everybody. I mean, you are going beyond your principles, like many people could do, because you have no choice. And so, did you get inspired by personal situations to build your character? The good, the bad, this line in the sand to...
And when I started working about the character and the role, I took, there's this, I think it's called the la pendule, when they say in the extremities, for example, love and hate are very close in the extremities. The border in a way is very close. But if you take the whole arc of how long does it take you to reach that point where you cross that line in the sand. Now, personally, if I need to check whether in my life I was pushed, in certain points, I guess there were certain points where, I was pushed into doing something. And in a way, I think that a lot of people in their, back, in their minds, could think evil. It's very, when I say evil, it's like breaking your morals, and it's the way you're educated, and how long does it take you to reach that point. So I think for me it was more envisioning how long would it take to Alon to break and to break his principles and to work against his morals. And I try to build it very, very slowly, because it's very easy to jump from one point to the other.
That's
so
interesting.
It was interesting, to find the minimal, changes and not make because it's very easy to make big changes.
And
but
that's the advantage of a series. You have time to build that over the episodes.
Yes and no, because it's a close to episode 3 and 4. This is where the breaking point starts. But until that point, it's like Alon he's being pushed, and he thinks about, okay, I'm going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it.
He resists.
I'm going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And I think talking also about the relationship with Mickey and the family, I think what was interesting, you remember we filmed the first week or 2 weeks was all the scenes that happened at home. And I think it helped me a lot as an actor. I always came back to what we filmed back home. And you see what breaks in our relationship, because we started a very
Don't spoil us.
Yeah.
But all he wants to say, it was very fun with me. And no, I'm just kidding. No, the thing is, I remember that he told me after 2 weeks that we filmed together. He told me, "Wow, now I realize that I'm so happy that we did it first, because now I know what I'm gonna give up. I know how much I love you guys, and it will help me." It will help me. It's gonna help me.
Yeah, I was always coming back to what happens at home, with.
Interesting, because effectively it is not shot in the order of the series, but the house was done in one single week or 2 weeks,
or even 2.5 with the expanded family.
Yeah.
So it has helped a lot. Maybe for both of you, I mean, how was your collaboration with Rotem? Was it a close direction, or did you take freedom, and propose and on your own develop certain traits?
First of all, Rotem is very warm, loving director. He creates an amazing environment. Everybody's nice to each other. He's very modest. We love him very much. And yeah, he's kind of the directors that gives you lots of freedom to do whatever you think. And then if something like he's like, how do you say that?
Adjusting.
Yeah. But definitely he gives you lots of freedom to do whatever you want.
Yeah. I think what's special with Rotem, I had the chance of working with him also in Fauda 2 seasons.
Yeah, you know each other well.
And in Hostages, yeah, we know each other. And I think one of the his advantages is on one hand he knows what he wants, and on the other hand he's very free, open to hear thoughts. So we had a lot of discussions. I remember discussing Mickey's part, discussing Alon's part, discussing the family matters, and so it's it's a great environment to work with. And I think it all starts also with the writing. I think if we
Same
talk
question
about
for Yuval. I mean, did you
Yuval,
discuss with him a lot? Was he present during shooting or exchanging with you?
Very much. He was very present, very involved, very open to hear thoughts and discuss, the characters and scenes. So it was, a great team to work with. Very great,
Yeah, we're a great team.
Yeah.
No, and they're great.
We can't wait watching this. It's going to be in the fall in France, so pretty soon. Maybe a final word about Line in the Sun to pitch the series to our audience when it will come on our screens.
Maybe in French.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, do it.
Ben, en fait, je pense que dans la série La ligne dans le sable, c'est comme ça qu'on dit ouais.
I don't know how it will be. Je sais pas comment on va
Non, on
traduire.
ne sait
mais
pas. Alors,
La ligne dans le sable, oui.
je pense que vous allez découvrir une série, old-fashioned series, de, disons, le good guys, comme on a discuté hier, un western moderne, je trouve qui va être très intéressant à l'audience. Et on vous assure que ça va être très... Il y aura beaucoup de drame, beaucoup d'action et beaucoup de surprises.
Tout ce qu'on aime.
Didn't understand anything. No, just kidding.
Shani, your final word
No,
about the series.
No, I don't. I'm just kidding. I'm not. We hope you're gonna see it. We love this series very much.
Yes.
We hope you'll enjoy. I think you will.
Yeah,
Just
it
just
looks
watch.
very good from what I've seen. I sign already. Thank you so much. Congrats for this great series and your selection here in Monte-Carlo. N'oubliez pas d'inscrire Line in the Sun dans votre agenda BetaSeries pour être notifié dès sa sortie en France à la rentrée prochaine. Et rendez-vous très bientôt pour une prochaine émission de Originals sur BetaSeries La Radio, partenaire média du Festival de télévision de Monte-Carlo. À bientôt.
Merci beaucoup. À bientôt.
Merci.
BetaSeries La Radio, partenaire média du Festival de télévision de Monte-Carlo 2021.
Originals, découvrez en avant-première nos interviews sur les séries qui font l'actu.